Well, we're back with an extra special guest, a master of sausages, both silly and fantastical. It's my friend Rob. I welcome him to the show. He recently did a pretty cool show down in London and made at least a couple contacts, right?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it went well.
So, I mean, there's the elephant in the room, Scottish elephant, that is, and
It's no good talking to me about current events because
oh yeah,
I'm so tuned out.
yeah. Well, it is what it is. It's the state of affairs over in Bongistan these days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's some sometimes in my darker moments, I just think like stick a fork in us, we're done, you know. Um, but I think there's still heart to England. We're still going despite everything, and that's always been our thing. When you think about it, like you know, we
Chin up.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh God, the Luftwaffe are dropping bombs on us. Oh, well, never mind. Have a cup of tea. You'll be all right. You know.
Wasn't there some guy that was arrested that parachuted into? Well, that's a story for another time. We shouldn't talk about that. That's not what we're talking about these days. Although it might have changed everything. Anyway, um, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're completely new to my audience, other than our mutual friends.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I'm a self-taught artist. Goes by the name of Fantastic Sausages, and I started off painting in my kitchen, just by happenstance. Basically, my mum was always the active artist in our family. Even bless her soul. How do I say this without sounding awful? Um, she was average, uh, yeah. And basically, what I discovered when she gave up painting and gave all her stuff to me, after some false starts with old oil paints and crap brushes that I got from B&M. B&M is like a dollar store type place that we have in this country. And yeah, I basically discovered when I finally got serious, I got some decent brushes and decent paints that I had inherited my great granddad's genetic talent.
Hmm.
And he used to paint barges and stuff. And there are some really good paintings that he did in like the late 19th century of barges in storms and things like that. And yeah, so basically, long story short, started in the kitchen painting for friends and just as a hobby. And then through a mutual friend, I became an outsider artist with the Don't Walk Walk gallery. Showed my cat that looks like Hitler. That's my first painting that was serious. I painted it for a friend, and I showed that. And then the pandemic happened, and I was painting, and I got signed up to the gallery and started selling. And it was completely a surprise to me. I had no idea that my life was going to go in this direction. But the one thing I will say, because you just mentioned about medical marijuana, is that I was a stoner from like the age of 16 up into my sort of mid late 30s, and it was only when I finally stopped smoking weed and just watching old movies and getting wasted on the weekends, and only when I stopped that, I watched Bob Ross Joy of Painting, and yeah, I had a go, and it was only then that I discovered that suddenly everything in my life that up to that point suddenly made sense.
Hmm.
I had the artist sensibility. I was always an artist groupie, and go to galleries, and I was mad into it and stuff. And oh, I felt so much, you know. And then when I discovered that I had that talent and that I could produce art, everything began to make sense. So what I would say is steer clear of the devil's lettuce, folks.
There's a lot of people that are getting onto that train these days. So
Yeah, I know, and I understand it because things are a bit grim both sides of the ocean.
well, no, I mean
Yeah.
actually people saying not to smoke pot anymore because
Oh,
for
right, you mean
for
well, I mean,
reasons, and
yeah,
Cernovich
the
is a great
quote,
example. He's been hard in the paint on it lately.
yeah, the quote I always come back to that somebody I read it somewhere after giving up smoking weed. I was only on the weekends for like in my 30s, but the quote was, "Weed makes boredom tolerable," and all of a sudden, like almost the entire decade of my 30s made perfect sense. It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of, I was just like coasting. It was cool when I was in my 20s and I'd make music and like all kinds of things. I was involved in scenes for my brother. He was in a band and you know, it was all very cool then, but we got into our 30s, all of that fell away and I was just sat around my friends like watching old movies. But I mean, it's part of the journey that has given me like the cultural background and things that I probably wouldn't have watched otherwise, like old kung fu movies and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm rambling.
No, no, no. I mean, that's what this is about. It's just we're having a chat and learning about an interesting fella. So it's all background. No worries.
Yeah,
And there is something to be said for that because I've said a number of times, like I've got no issues with pot or stoners, but weed culture is one of the most cancerous things that has ever come to exist.
yeah. I
And
think that's yeah, like there's a lot to be said for that, definitely, because there's probably a whole bunch of people who are limiting themselves because they're like looking for a quick fix. And I know that sounds like almost kind of judgmental and almost hypocritical because obviously I was one of them, but like I always say, like I didn't know I was an artist until I stopped smoking weed.
isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's not a
There's
coincidence.
there's a number of folks who find themselves trapped in things and situations. So
Hmm.
it's not necessarily a bad thing to try and find your way out. You don't have to be a stoner forever. There are people that can be, and there are people that are, but there's also there's people that have had psychotic breaks because they couldn't bother to take care of themselves. In this case, they
Yeah.
were not doing an excessive amount of a psychoactive substance.
Yeah, exactly. I think uh, what I always say to people, because I've got friends that still smoke it, even in their 40s or early 50s or whatever, um, and I just always say that it's just it's like it's not being judgmental. It's just like maybe you've got hidden depths that you're just masking because you're bored. You know.
Could be. That said, there are some folks that genuinely need it, which I'm glad they're able to get
Oh,
access.
yeah, of course. People like MS sufferers and stuff like that, no one's going to begrudge that.
Oh yeah, like if you're shaking all the time when you're not high, then please smoke a J. For the love of God, man. But otherwise, now here's something you may or it's not tangentially related. You know that JD Vance came over to visit here just recently, right?
Yeah, I heard about what happened with that.
Largely
You
went pretty
see,
well. There was a pub that was none too happy to have him visit to the extent of barring him from entry. But hey,
yeah. No, I
whatever.
heard he got chased around by that van, which had
Oh
the
yeah,
meme on
the
it.
van that has the funny memes that he has reposted himself. Yeah, that that happened.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I sort of
we
get it, and it kind of goes back to what I said. Like, um, I personally think because in like I say in the darker moments, people will think like, oh God, we're morphing into the airstrip one or whatever. But things like that. whatever your politics, it's like that's just classic trolling, isn't it? That's classic British just sticking two fingers up at America. Ah, bloody Yanks coming over here. Think they're better than us. Ugh.
It is, but I mean, it's boy, that one was there was an effort. There was an attempt. Credit for that. You tried.
I mean, that meme,
Bless your
like, it's been a
sweethearts.
bit overdone, I think. The whole JD Vance thing is a bit overdone. Like, yeah, like, I see them now and I sort of cringe a bit when, like, you know, let's move on now.
Now that said, while he was over there, he had some personal words with Herr Starmer, and due to that, there's not going to be a direct need for Apple to give what MI6 the keys to the kingdom. So at least he got something done, and got to see a couple of funny memes that he already has admitted that he enjoys.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not sure if he can take the full credit for that because I heard that
Oh yeah, no,
there was
everyone hated
such a
it.
huge like legal pushback from the American tech conglomerates, just like, no, that's just going to cost us loads of money, and we'll just stop operating in your country. And
You do like
Starmer
Facebook,
was
right?
like, oh, okay then.
Yeah. Google says, "Hey, everyone uses our search engine, right?" They
I mean, it's more than that now, you know. Like Google has been, you got to think how old Google is. It's almost as old as the modern internet itself. You know, like
I remember not wanting to use Google because all it was a link conglomerator.
yeah. In its early days, I never even saw it in the 90s. I was still on Yahoo like everyone else, right?
Yeah, I
But
remember web crawler. That was the one.
Ask Jeeves. And the way it was marketed to us like it was AI.
Mm.
Oh, that was hilarious. Oh my God. Because the first time you use it, like, oh wow, this thing's actually intelligent, blah blah blah, because of the way it was marketed, and then you use it and it's sub Lycos, useless. Like, yep, I just said Lycos. That really dates me, doesn't it?
Not that much. I mean, you could have said you had to pick up the rotary and dial the internet up yourself. Then you'd really be dating yourself. But hey.
Yeah, I mean there were like BBS boards or whatever in the 80s on 8-bit computers, and I saw one briefly because we had an Amstrad,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, so like Alan
You're
Sugar is very interesting. If we could go down the computer route just briefly, because that's part of it. And at some point, I am going to paint a a CPC 464, which is the first serious computer we ever had. Um, so like it was programming basic, very poorly, or either copying out of the manuals and not really knowing what the hell I was doing, or just literally 10 print hello, 20 go to 10. But Alan Sugar's interesting because he accidentally sort of fell into it and made it a massive success. He took over Spectrum from Sir Clive Sinclair, and he was doing really well. But the bit that he did not foresee, because he didn't actually understand what it was he had on his hands, was 16-bit computing. So the Amiga came in and and even the Atari ST, even though it was crap, and that ate everything up. And his answer to that was to produce another 8-bit machine, the CPC 464 Plus, which was still 8-bit, and release that in 1990. So yeah, he just did not understand, and then he just like tried to do some PCs and couldn't get that right either. And now, of course, he's a property magnate and our answer to Donald Trump because
hmm.
he does the UK Apprentice.
Oh, does he? Is he
Yeah.
also Trumpian in other ways, or just the Apprentice thing?
No, he's a left wing lord.
Oh, a labor guy. Lovely.
Yeah. But
Fun
it's
people,
quite
those.
interesting that someone that was so pivotal accidentally got all the right people to build like this super impressive 8-bit machine. And you know, it was a really good computer. And he just didn't actually have a clue what he had at all, even though he made loads of money out of it.
Huh. So he could have been a Bill Gates.
But that's the thing. He doesn't have that. That's the thing about Bill Gates, obviously. Like, and all of them, Steve Jobs, Wozniak, whatever. Like, they're all like, "Oh, I just started in my parents', garage, blah blah blah." But they all come from, you know, dynasties,
Yeah,
especially
my
Bill
parents'
Gates, of
garage.
course.
My parents being millionaires,
Yeah.
and the garage being furnished and everything. But
I mean,
yeah,
I believe Steve Jobs was more sort of middle class.
yeah. No, Steve Jobs is actually a fairly real guy.
Yeah,
That's probably a large part of his success, that he was a reasonable, normal-ish person.
but that's all part of it. Like that is like I do that for a living. That's how I pay my bills is computing. Um, After university, I did some sort of rubbish temp like admin jobs, and then for a friend, I got a job at the local American pharmaceutical, which I don't know if it still exists, called Abbott Laboratories, and that was my start in being an IT support monkey, and pretty much with a few blips here and there, been there ever since. So computing is a large part of my art, ironically, because obviously, actually, like the art that I made before I realized I could pick up a paintbrush and work magic with oils was on computers. So that would have been D Paint 4 on the Amiga, or we actually had like a paint program on the Amstrad, and we had a mouse. We were like way ahead of the of the curve on that one,
I got all
and
the stuff out of the IBM lab.
yeah, like MS Paint. But the thing that when I started painting, I didn't have a clue, so I applied the same methods that I'd used to do reasonable art in paint programs, which would be to zoom in. So I looked at the creation of these pieces like pixels, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you do one section in one color and then slightly adjust the color and do another section.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, but that's actually the exactly how much of art conservation is done. In exactly
Yeah,
that same way, just a dot here, dot there, and then you'd kind of dot in until you've made the picture whole.
but it was, yeah, obviously that was how I did it at first. But then as I moved on, it changed, and I learned how to use oil paints properly. And a big part of that is my Twitch show, where I had to create things more quickly. So
And
it started off with being like a request show. What this is pre the show I do is called Dollar for a Dong, and it's basically a knob gag that was used to raise um like what's the word? I wouldn't say interaction, but uh
community involvement,
engagement.
yeah, and
That's the
engagement, yeah,
word.
yeah,
Engagement with my followers, and it was through painting quickly and being a lot more slapdash that I slowly learned how to paint more in a what's called a more painterly style. So what I've ended up with is two streams of painting where I have projects that I spend months on. Like famously, I spent 19 months painting a moldy strawberry. That painting's called Some People Hate Strawberries.
Yeah, I actually have that on screen right now for anybody that's watching.
I mean, that's my uh, most pedantic and most, I suppose, technically accomplished piece. But my best piece is still what is colloquially known as the gay Nazis, but we can't call it that on social media. So I had to come up with a convoluted title for it, and it's the doomed defection of two gay National Socialists. I think it was something like that. I
That's
can't
exactly
even
it.
remember my own
Bravo. Yeah,
titles.
that's
Yeah.
literally it. Yes.
Oh, I can remember my titles. It's
Good job.
surprising because that painting is 6 years old now.
Still available. Links below for
Prints,
anyone that's
prints,
interested.
prints, prints are still available. The original sold pretty
Oh
quickly.
yeah, well these are limited edition archival prints at a 35
Yeah,
by 29 centimeter special edition.
excellent. That's right. Sell, sell, sell.
Amen, brother. That's what we're all about here. Selling ourselves, selling our friends. But,
Yeah,
marketing, not for sale. You know.
exactly.
And on that note, you were working on your newer long timescale piece on Twitch, and you've had some issues, if I'm not mistaken. Now, did you perhaps, I don't know, did you see a fat girl and call her fat, and that was the reason that they banned you? Did you not adequately support a terrorist organization? What happened?
You're trying to get me into trouble,
Oh
but
no, no, no!
okay.
I'm just saying you're not Hassan Piker. So what happened to you?
So I decided this quite a while ago actually, and it was in the Fitzrovia Gallery where I ended up doing my show, my one man show, whatever, so first solo show,
Yeah.
serving sausages. I showed there in a group show with Don't Walk Walk Gallery last year, and it was there that I sort of had the idea that it would be very amusing for a gay man to paint old page 3 models. So if for
Just
people who don't
a
know,
real quick. Yes, please.
yeah, page 3 is a British cultural institution. I'm not sure if it's still going. It might have died a death. I don't know. I don't read The Sun, but the Sun newspaper, which is a Murdoch-owned newspaper, in the sort of, I think it was the late 70s, they first started showing page 3 models, which is very, very mild pornography, basically. So young lasses with their
Oh
baps out.
no, 10 years
So it
ago.
wasn't, yeah.
That's when it ended.
So
They cut it in
one of
2019.
the famous ones was called Linda Lusardi, and that's who I started painting. And I did that on stream on Twitch and had no issues. So I wrongly assumed that they would they didn't mind because of the context and the fact that actually the picture that I downloaded of Linda Lusardi from about 1985 is very campy. It's her with her baps out, but because of modern censorship, the nipples are actually pixelated. So my idea, as a comment on modern censorship in Keir Starmer's Britain, was to paint that with the censored nipples, and basically it's a super campy image. She's there holding a copy of the Sun newspaper. She's got a City Gents bowler hat on. She's in a swimsuit, but like I say, the baps are out, and she's got like a City Gents umbrella. Just she's holding behind her head. So it's really campy. If she didn't have her tits out, it would be like Carry On stuff. So I was a bit mystified when my stream got taken down. I got told off for being for nudity, but it seems like their policy is it doesn't matter what the context is, no nudity. And that
Well,
I actually found out that includes buttocks as well.
Huh.
So her buttocks are fairly prominent as well,
So,
even though,
hmm.
yeah.
I'm
So
wondering.
I failed on 2 points there. Get it? I failed on 2 points.
Indeed, indeed.
But it's kind of amusing because obviously the whole reason for me painting it is there's two reasons. My art is quite often conceptual, and Linda Lusardi did panto a lot in the 80s. And when I was 11 years old, we went to the Marlow Theatre in Canterbury. I think it was Jack and the Beanstalk, and she was in it. And all of my peers, I wasn't a popular child. I was quiet and not effeminate by that point, but I was just quiet, reserved, um, complete opposite of what I'm like now. And I remember everybody going nuts. Oh, it's Linda Lusardi. It's Linda Lusardi. I'm like, who's Linda Lusardi? What is this? I don't know. I've never heard of this woman. And obviously, the reason why they were excited is because of their parents, their dads probably had copies of The Sun. So they've probably seen Linda Lusardi's Threepenny Bits.
Hmm.
And obviously that's super exciting to 11-year-old straight kids. But to me, I was just totally mystified by it. I thought she was pretty good in the role.
There you go.
And that's the gayest thing you'll hear ever.
No.
But
Bette Midler's
yeah,
actually a wonderful actress.
yeah. And at the end of the day, so I've got that. I've got personal history with Linda Lusardi, and it's quite important when you're painting something. I think a lot of the things that I've painted, I've got personal history with, so I'm interested in the subject. Like for example, I painted Joyce Grenfell, who's a comic actress from the mid 20th century, who was in a couple of carry-ons, but she was most prominently in the Centurions franchise. Now, you may have seen the Crap remake with Russell Brand, but in the 50s and the early 60s, it was a completely different affair, and she played a sort of very jolly hockey sticks type of, like sports mistress in those films. And I saw them a lot when I was a kid and enjoyed them because I liked old movies, being a young gayling, as they say. And I chose to paint that because what I was astonished to find out was that I sort of knew a bit that she had massive talent, way beyond what she portrayed in these silly films. And she'd done one-woman shows with a whole host of characters that she'd invented, these sort of tragicomic type archetypes of British types. Lumpy Latimer's
Oh,
famous
kind of
one.
maybe a bit of a Betty Page type.
Yeah, something like that. So
Okay.
it was, she had all these hidden depths and she's a real star, but no one else had painted her. And she's in danger of being forgotten. And that has been something that I've been very wedded to in recent years. The things I paint is disappearing England, which I think is the normies are starting to catch on to that now. I was ahead of the curve, ha ha. But yeah, so that was the thing that I chose to do because no one else had painted her. She still hasn't sold, possibly because of the hefty price tag. But big art costs big money.
And to be fair, it's pretty good. I've actually, at the moment, I've got the Joan Crawford one in the background, but it's actually all quite good. You're legitimately a talented artist.
Yeah, better than quite good. I'm good. I'm not great. I aspire to greatness, but I think it's not with art. The thing that I've realized is a lot of it is having a point of view. So when you create an artwork, you're creating something, you're putting it out there. It's like you're sending out a radio signal. to be picked up, hopefully by the right people. And I have attracted all kinds of interesting characters to my art in this way. And I sort of saw that writ large when I was in the gallery, the kind of people that would stay a bit longer and were more interested and had questions and things like that. But it's that's the joy of it, is
The joy of
that you
painting.
can, the joy of painting, not paint. Not, you can't say joy of painting because then you get sued. Um,
Right.
that that's why I chose that title, because uh, everything about being an artist is about suffering, and this goes back to my earlier point I was just saying about how my life didn't make sense until I realized I was an artist, because all of the stuff that I've been through just seemed to be for naught. You know, all of this suffering, quote unquote, um, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'm not going to list personal tragedies and stuff, but there's a lot of it there, and a lot of trauma, especially as being a gay man in a straight world, blah blah blah, and my struggles in the closet. I didn't come out until I was 26. Like, yeah, so so it's all there, but that's why it's called the joy of painting, because pain is joy when we're talking about art.
After a fashion.
Yeah, it's very deep. There's all kinds of depths to my stuff. That's what it's all about.
I can relate. What was it? I think the first publicly released piece I did was All Tomorrow's Parties, which is
Mm.
actually a call out to a Britain that isn't anymore.
Mm.
I'll send you a copy of it.
Yeah.
It's stark, and it's stark and intentional, and doesn't seem like it is, because that's how I do mine. And the first piece I commercially released, funny enough, is God, the most meme worthy thing ever. Actually, it's a cat on a TRS-80, which, if you're
Yeah.
not familiar, the TRS-80 is one of the most garbage computers of its era, and they were sold out of Radio Shack for probably some of the cheapest prices too. And
Mm.
there's just such a really I had no idea, honestly, about this, but like our artistic sides are incredibly similar.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well, you know, you're one of the people that I've attracted. This is what happens. You send out your signal, and the right people um, will respond to it in positive fashion. I mean, this is what art is all about. But it's like the reason why I came back to God after years of being agnostic, or quote unquote spiritual or whatever. It makes perfect sense. Like it happened through the art, because all of a sudden everything about my life made perfect sense. So it's like, well, that kind of proves that there's intelligence behind this stuff. It's not random. And then that sort of switched on a light bulb in my head. But then when you think about it, churches were the first galleries. This is the first place that the peasantry would have been exposed to art.
Well, not even
All
Christian
art was
churches, for that
religious
matter,
art in like
since always.
up until since always, up until fairly recently.
Before
Even
Christianity, even.
yeah,
That's just the way it was, and
because it
how it
has a
had to be.
spiritual dimension, of course. I mean, this is what you come to realize through process. This makes it sound like really pretentious, but it's basically that you are a conduit, and when you force yourself to limit the way that you can produce, you realize that it's irrelevant. So on my show, I have channel point modifiers that deliberately put roadblocks in the way, it raises viewer engagement and it makes it fun and interesting, but it doesn't really make any difference necessarily to the quality of the art, whether I'm painting with a puppet, one eye closed, or from memory, or with no paintbrushes whatsoever
Or
when
having
I'm
been
having to use
bombarded
my
with
fingers.
numerous requests to drink alcohol.
Exactly, whether you're pissed up or not, it doesn't matter. I forced myself on one stream to paint with my left hand a few years ago, and at first it was tricky, but after about an hour, the conduit just kicked in. That's what all artists are. We're all conduits.
In one way or another. I mean, even if you're creating on your own, it flows in a way
Yeah,
that can't really be described to someone who doesn't create.
I mean, it's the act of creation, and what is God but the act of creation, and even the absence of God, even atheistic paintings of one of my favorite artists is a long dead now, but massively avowed atheist, and that's Francis Bacon.
Hmm.
Massively nihilistic, massively atheistic, to the point where one of his famous quotes is, "If I wasn't a painter, I would have been a thief or a murderer or something." Like he's like, morality, smash it with a hammer. But he's ironically, in his creation, he's sort of disproved his own theories of it, I think, because what does he do? It's humans as screaming meat is the way I would sum up Bacon. And the gallery manager who made serving sausages possible by believing in me and letting me do the show and having the space, sent me an email recently, and she was like, "I'm very interested in the idea of the technique of painting," and she keeps saying that your work, your dongs, the quick paintings, a lot of the brush strokes and the way it flows and the way it looks is reminiscent of Bacon. And she said, "What are your thoughts on the famous screaming Pope, um, where he did Innocent I think the 10th, which was a painting by Velasquez, and the original painting has great humanity and a lot of it's very enigmatic, and you get a sense of the power, but also of the humanity and the maybe vulnerability,
I'll
because
I'll throw a link to a little
it's
Wix article that's got it up here that does a comparison on the screen right now. Bats, you're watching, I know, but anybody else that's going to be watching right now, you'll actually see the two of them and how they compare and contrast.
yeah,
And
and
it's
Bacon takes that and he completely inverts it. He destroys that power. He hits it with a hammer, and he's just like, this is just another um, poor unfortunate on this godforsaken rock. It's pure atheist nihilism, but he did it again and again and again because, ironically, um, Bacon was obsessed with that painting, and he recreated that imagery over and over again in all kinds of different paintings. Um, but I think, to come back to my original point, I've drifted off slightly, is uh, that is the irony of Bacon. He's presenting this super nihilistic, super atheistic view through the way that he attacks the canvas, but his understanding of the human form and the perfection of it, even like slabs of meat or whatever. I'm waving my arms around as I say this because I'm like thinking about it, and it's it's God, whether he likes it or not.
yeah, I can look at his. I'm actually looking over his artwork now, and I will encourage anyone to do so as well. And he has a very a notable style, but yeah, he really does get people.
Yeah,
Like
and
there's a there's
in
an
that
just a there's
is
a heavy humanity in his works
yes,
that I'm seeing.
exactly, and that's the contradiction, because he's trying to show humans as just screaming meat, as just another animal. You know, they're often juxtaposed against animal imagery. There's one with dogs, you know, like greyhound type stuff, and um, obviously against meat. But what always comes through, particularly if you see the ones of his partner, the burglar that broke in, I can't remember, George or something, I can't remember his full name, who ended up killing himself. And he painted that imagery as well. Oh, hang on. Have I disconnected?
No, you're here. You're here.
Oh no.
No, my
Something
co-host
just
has
went
joined
to
us.
doing. Ah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Craig has arrived. Hello, Craig.
Hello.
Yeah, we're just talking a little bit of art. This is my friend Rob. We're talking about his exhibit and kind of
Hi, Rob.
existentialism and stuff.
Hey, I've been going on and on about art. It might have something to do with the gin martini.
Well,
have that.
I had some very long-term notice of this, so I am here now.
Oh, no,
Welcome.
yeah, we're actually talking about Francis Bacon and the human condition and basically his understanding of humanity in.
All right, so a 3 martini minimum it is then.
Yeah, you'll want to go ahead
Well,
and another one.
I'm just doing a new one now. I'm using JJ's dry gin because it was cheap, but it's got a lovely embossed type bottle. I need to put some. I'm committing the cardinal sin of not properly mixing it with ice and just dropping ice cubes in because I can't be bothered with the washing up. Forgive me.
I did like the Pluto Nash martini. He just takes a sip of each. Takes a sip of either, right?
Craig, real quick, I'll just drop into staff chat his gallery link here so you can check out some of his stuff you like.
Alrighty. I shall do that.
Cheers, quiz. Oh.
I've been sipping on a vibe, if anyone's curious. Peach, actually.
Don't walk. Okay.
Yeah, don't walk gallery. But anyway, we should probably kind of get back into that, which is to say, you've got rather a bit of work here, and it's all pretty good at a bare minimum.
Well, like I said, I've been handed this gift by God. I know it sounds self-aggrandizing, but for me, it's the opposite of that. So as I said earlier, it's
I just recognized the one lady from the YouTube shooting.
yes, that was my conservative ladies diptych of it's very conceptual, and I did that very early in my artist career. Like when I was only not even a year into painting, I decided that I would paint. Yeah, so like it's the conservative ladies diptych. So you've got Nassim Agdam in heaven and Barbara Bush in hell, and Barbara Bush, because they both passed around the same sort of time, and yeah, so they're both conservative ladies, but
True.
Nassim Agdam obviously only turned the gun on herself in the end, and I don't know, injured someone's leg or something, and she was there to she was frustrated, and she believed she'd been hard done by, and she was coming from that moral position. Sorry, what was that?
Some say that she was speaking for those who had no voice.
Yeah, exactly. So he was coming from this moral position, ultra moralistic position, whatever you think about it. She fully believed in it. Whereas on the other hand, you've got Barbara Bush, who's just from a life of privilege and just a horrible individual, really responsible for one of the worst dynasties America has ever suffered. Yeah. Although she did give us jabs, so she gave us some laughs.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, I mean, if it weren't for her, we wouldn't have, fool me can't get fooled again. So there is that.
Yeah. I mean,
But there is also that.
but it's sort of an ironic admiration for both of them because Barbara Bush, I think it was Nixon, he said, "There's a lady who knows how to hate," which, as a gay man,
Wow.
yeah, Nixon said that about
Yeah.
her.
Wow. Just wow.
And she was presented. I remember in the early '90s when I was a nipper, and I've watched Newsround, the BBC propaganda for children, and basically, she was presented as America's grandma. If you remember that Simpsons episode, do you remember the one where she's in and like they move opposite and
Maybe
George is getting upset with Homer, and she's like, oh, like this grandmotherly figure. But in reality, she had, I have heard through a gay site that has informed a lot of my views, especially when I was a liberal. But
it doesn't start with a 4, does it?
It's about, apparently, I don't know how true this is, but it seemed to fit to me. She had one of her miscarriages in a jar.
That's a
Now I don't know
horrifying.
how true this is, and would show it to the Bush boys to keep them in line.
Seeing how they
I can see
turned
her
out,
doing that with a rat.
I wouldn't be I wouldn't write that off completely.
I don't know the veracity of that, but of course there's that quote about when she was asked about the Gulf War and like, oh, what do you think about this? And she's like, why would I waste my beautiful mind on something like that? And for a gay man, that that is just hilarious because it's just so. It's almost sort of like something you could imagine Bette Davis saying in a movie. It's ridiculous, but she said it on national television. Like, well, body bags. I don't think about that. Why would I waste my beautiful mind on it? Something like that. But there's a kind of truth in that. I'm gonna go off on a slight tangent here.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm curious where you're going with this.
Yeah, so like Prince was asked why he doesn't watch horror movies, and his answer was like, I don't want that in my mind. Once I've seen it, it's not going anywhere. It's stuck there forever. So there is something to be said for avoiding egregious things. So in a kind of weird way, even though what she said was incredibly insensitive and just feeds into the whole idea of her just being a massive bitch, was she's kind of right, but kind of wrong at the same time. And that is the sweet spot for artists. That kind of dramatic irony is the kind of thing we love. So of course I put her in hell. Because that's where she is.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
In this case,
Well,
is that
I'll
the
pause
German
with this.
flag as the background? Well, never mind.
Oh, boy.
I mean, I invented the background. I invented the hell that she's in.
No, I just note that it looks very similar to the German flag, but that's neither here nor there. It's not like a German cop was arresting a guy for. Well, that's again we're this one's going big in Britain, so we'll keep all those comments to a minimum. Just that.
Well, that was actually going to be a question I asked was how many different forms of ID did you need to provide in order to join us today?
We're not there yet, but I fear that that's down the pipeline. But
how many VPNs are you behind right now?
I mean,
did you need to warn them what you had for breakfast yesterday when they put the glove on?
I mean,
just like, hey man, I had a really spicy. I had the volcano vindaloo.
Look,
so if you're going up there, just know you need to wear goggles.
The the online censorship, whatever it's called, I don't know, safety,
The
online safety
Make
act, I
Children
think it was
Safe
called,
Act, or whatever it was
whatever
called.
that is an interesting one because it shows how Britain is the same but also different. So to illustrate that fact, this is the most unpopular piece of legislation easily since like the poll tax. And we all know what happened. Well, you might not know, but that was the biggest riots England has seen since I don't know, like Peterloo or something. Like, it was insane. They tore up London, they destroyed it, and consequently, a whole raft of legislation came under the guise of, like protecting
Well,
us or whatever.
Public safety.
to be fair,
Even in the 90s, the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act was sold as, oh, we need to prevent these illegal raves where people are overdosing and blah blah blah. But what it was really about was curtailing the right to protest so that the poll tax could never, riots could never happen again, and they haven't. So the interesting thing about the Online Safety Act is it shows, like I said, that Britain is the same but different because everybody's angry about it, but now they just go on social media and complain because
well,
no
I'd say, to
one
be
is
fair,
protesting or tearing up London.
well, no,
Well,
I'd
unless
say
they
it's
love
actually that's a
Palestine.
different thing because I'd say that riots in London and tearing it up and so on. Really, you're talking about a Ramadan season activity, not a summertime thing.
You may say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
Right.
Well,
Well,
To quote
I'd
Sir
say,
Francis Urquhart.
is just
I'd say
it's a
it's
special
quite
time
interesting
for
how.
people of a certain religiosity.
Well, no, I'd say it's really not even a religion thing, is it? It's more if you're a truck driver and you happen to be crossing the bridge.
Well, no, that is one thing, but you see
Who could say what religion the
trucking.
guy had? All he did was hop out of the car, shouting Allahu Akbar, and start stabbing people. Nobody knew what his motives were. It's confusing as hell.
Yeah, well, you can never guess. It's always a mystery.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a
An
hot
unsolvable
potato.
mystery. We'll never.
It's such a
we'll
hot
never know.
potato that it's just not worth touching. If you get what I'm saying, it's just not worth touching
Well, no,
because
that's understandable. You like not being in jail, and
I
that's
have a friend
understandable.
who I randomly met on the internet on freaking Omegle of all places. Is that how you? I can't even remember. Is that how you
Omegle.
pronounce it?
I thought it was
Omegle,
Omegle.
Omegle. I like to say Omegle because it sounds
I
posher.
never used it, but yeah, I like that tag. I like
Yeah,
that.
it sounds like
Omegle.
you're not looking at random people masturbating
I mean,
for
you
half
could
an hour
probably
trying to
even go
find
like
another human.
a little French with it. Oh my God.
And he's a man from Kuwait, and he's a Shia Muslim.
Ah, so
And
a person who likes
and
America.
and we became the firmest of friends, and he's come over a few times and we hang out, and even though he doesn't drink and stuff, we still get on
Oh,
and
good time anyway.
yeah, like we still have a good time. And at the end of the day, what it proves is that this stuff isn't really that important at all. And it's clearly being used by the people that have asset stripped Britain to the extent where we're down to the bones and everything is falling apart. It's being used to rile up people against each other. But at the end of the day, we're all being exploited. We're all being exploited. And people seem not blind to that, but I think people are waking up to it a bit more. I see it more in my Instagram reels. There's a lot of dissatisfaction and a lot of people saying like, I'm done, I'm leaving. And people they're going to Dubai, which is
How
the
ironic.
biggest irony I can think of. It's just,
All I'll say is that I'm not sure, but I think the Lend-Lease Act might still be active. And if it is, I will investigate what is necessary to send you guys the tools that you need to fertilize your trees, because your
I mean,
trees
at
are
the end,
obviously very infertile.
what ones are left that haven't been chopped down,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
But the point about the immigration, this is the only thing I'm going to say about it, because it's so radioactive a topic. It's not something I want to go into. It's absolutely just, it's Sellafield. It's just so radioactive. Is that it's just the shit cherry on top of the shit cake. It's not actually as big a thing, as important a thing as it's being made out to be, and it's being used probably to usher in digital ID.
Well, you've got to make sure those children are safe from all the dangerous people.
It's very, very, very cynical. It's very, very cynical,
That
and
kinda
it's
ties
and
back
it's
into what
and
we,
it's and
opened
it's
the
the
show with, too.
oldest. It's the oldest trick in the book. It's divide and conquer.
Well,
But
it's
at
true.
the end of the day, if people can enjoy, the same sort of things that I enjoy, and if you can find areas where you can get along, then why not do that? I don't think that humanity is evil. I just think that people are, unfortunately, a lot of them are not the brightest, not the brightest,
Well,
and it's easier to
you could call
manipulate
them
them.
idiots, and you could say that they are useful in that status.
Exactly. Because the problems of Britain go back to Thatcher, and they go back even before Thatcher, because Thatcher was just a patsy. Now, this is something I watched recently. Are you familiar with the works of Adam Curtis,
I am not.
the documentary maker? Probably not, as Americans, but he is a very what's the word? Esoteric type of documentary filmmaker using archives. He puts together these video essays over several episodes or whatever. And his most famous one, the one that really got him noticed in the first place, was The Power of Nightmares. And it was all about how the establishment uses the threat of Islamic terror to enact a authoritarian regime, and it was brilliant. But this latest one was shifty, right? So this was all about living in Britain in the late 20th century. So it's about Thatcherism mainly.
Okay.
And the conclusion that he drew was, and the conclusion that you can only come to, is that, one, she didn't really know what she was doing. Two, she was a massive ideologue who was just absolutely convinced by the ideas of the individual, and just smashing like collective power of the working classes, because it had been seen to be like a destructive force in British society. But you can argue that till the cows come home. I mean, it's very suspicious that unions were like completely normal until the 1970s, and all of a sudden they got super militant. But draw your own conclusions from that one.
I mean, it's not like our
It
society
did.
has been infiltrated by people, with the express idea of destroying us. It's not like that's a thing.
Well, because the end result, I mean, there was literally a quote on the show where they talked to someone in the city who said, I advise the government on this stuff, but I was worried that they might use it as a means to remove the power from the working classes. And that's exactly what they did.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, exactly. That's all of the problems that we're facing now go back to the fact that she just removed all of the regulation that was in place to keep the city from swallowing Britain. And what the City of London has done is absolutely swallow Britain. and that is the source of all of our ills. Not whether the borders are too open and more people are coming in and whatever. That's irrelevant. And I always wonder, like,
I
who
wouldn't say
is selling
irrelevant, but I
the?
would say it's a symptom.
Yeah, but who is selling them this idea that Britain is some sort of utopia?
Well, no doubt, no doubt, the same kind of people that were funded by USAID in South America, Central America, that were telling them, no, there's plenty of jobs. And not only that, we're going to set you up with a ride, a little bit of clothes, some food to eat, some water to drink. Make sure you get up to that border.
And then they get here and realize that, the roads are full of potholes. The trains don't run on time, if they run at all. Everything costs 10 times what it should. Everyone's miserable. The weather is disgraceful. And the only thing we have that keeps us sane is pubs and our cultural heritage.
And
Without that, everyone would be going completely nuts, I think.
And Sharia has something to say about pubs.
Well, I think it's kind of going to become irrelevant because at the end of the day, what all of this proves is that capitalism always wins.
Money flows.
Yep.
That it does.
Money talks and bullshit walks, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of bullshitters have a lot of money, so.
I just think the focus is in the wrong place. And it's also comes from the...
That's fair. There are a lot of people that are distracted by a lot of the jingling keys that are out there.
Yeah.
And some of the jingling keys are actually jingling daggers, hanging over you like a sword of Damocles. Nonetheless, still a jingling key.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the classic divide and conquer. But there's something about Britain that people forget. And we are very good at assimilating people. Very good at it. It just happens.
Well, there's this thing called having a superior culture that people want to acclimate to.
Yeah, that's probably part of it, but it's also just our grit, I think, and our determination, and just like you can't. This is the thing that's always amused me about 1984, the novel, is that it assumes that Britain can be subsumed into a communist, like a dystopia.
Cough.
I don't think it's possible.
Cough.
I seriously don't think it's possible. I mean, you can cough. You can say like.
No, I'm just clearing my throat. Obviously, there's something in my throat making me cough here.
But like, I seriously, I have more faith in my fellow man than that. I just don't think.
I sincerely hope it's not misplaced. Although that said, we are seeing some very interesting things. You got a lot of good old boys that are out there. Painting up some cool crosses and putting up some flags to just show that how much they love their country, and
it's interesting. The most interesting thing, and the thing that makes everybody laugh, is that the councils are going out there to paint over the roundabouts again, and they're out there they're complaining about having to spend thousands of pounds to go out and do this, and it's like, well, you could just leave them. And also, we've been complaining about the potholes in the road for fucking 10 years.
Well, that's funny.
Oh,
I'm
seeing
and
they never get fixed.
Specifically, that crosses are starting to get painted into potholes.
And you do nothing when our green spaces get turned into disgusting new developments, and you do nothing when our libraries get closed down. But if someone paints a red cross, like, whatever your politics, you must see the absurdity of that.
Well, that's kind of what's happening. A lot of people are they're having their nose shoved in it, as it were.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you have this Scottish girl, just yesterday, that's today being charged with the crime of defending herself and her young sister from grape aficionados. Yeah.
But it's Scotland. It'll get thrown out. It might make
Maybe.
headlines.
I hope
Of course
it
it will
does.
get thrown out.
It damn well
It's
better.
Scotland. It's Scotland. They're always up for a rock. That's their whole history. So I can't. No Scottish judge
the thing about
with
this situation is it paints a fascinating picture, because you've got this guy with this very interesting accent, obviously Japanese, an Asian man, obviously, cough, that is like, show me the knife show to me, in a Japanese accent, obviously, not the one that I am imitating there, and
it sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger, to be fair.
I'll do what I can. But it's like she said, "Get the fuck away from my sister." Or I'm not in the place to do a proper Scottish accent. So my apologies, dear listener. But the young girl's like, "Get away from me and my sister," and he's like, "Show me the knife. Show me the knife." And then she does. It's like, "Fuck off, motherfucker," and he does. But that it's just the framing on this and how this is all being presented. We've got one large group of people that's like, this girl is going around and she was arrested because she was threatening people with knives all the time, and the only article to support that says nothing about it. There's an article in the Scottish Sun, I think, or the Scottish.
How would that stand out in Scotland?
See,
with apologies to Scotland. I have family
there
in Scotland. Most of my family is in Scotland, so I'm becoming rapidly, over the last few years, more intimately familiar with Scotland. And what always strikes me when you go there is it's kind of like England was 30 years ago. Everyone's more friendly, and with the exception of public transport, which is even worse than ours, which is some achievement, but their public transport is absolutely dire. The amount of times I've been forced onto a bus because the trains aren't running for whatever reason, or even forced to stay an extra day because there's no way to get out of Scotland, But like, anyone that's watched, there's a TV show from the 90s called Ramsay Nesbitt. That's Glaswegians, and that's a very typified type of angry Scot. But you don't fuck with Scotland. I mean, they hate us, but they're polite to us when we're there. Which is you can. When I go up there, I don't ever have any issues. Probably because I'm a bit of a SpongeBob. Wherever I go, I pick up the accent within about 2 days. I'm terrible for it. But even so, they know that from my pronunciation, even with my Scottish lilt when I get up there, I'm a Sassenach. So, yeah. I don't know. I think it just sounds like a non-issue to me that's being blown up, probably by the media, because that's what they like to do. Because the media are owned by the people that own the country, and the people that own the country want us all to be fighting each other, and not going, hang on a minute,
well, the thing
why is it I can't afford a house? Why is it that's completely out of my range when I've got middle income and am,
yeah,
comfortable?
We've got a really similar problem here in the States. Like, why is it that why can't I afford a house? Where'd all the houses go? And then we've got 100 million illegals. Funny what would happen if they weren't there. I'd be housing anyway. Yeah. In your case, the government has decided to make them quasi-legal or something. I don't even know what the specific terms for that nonsense.
They don't know what they're doing. If you've ever seen the thick of it, or before that, yes minister, yes prime minister, they don't know what they're doing either. They're just bureaucrats, and they're just reactive, and that's why everything's such a mess. They don't know what they're doing.
Greedy, and power
Well,
hungry.
well, I mean, maybe at the top, but they're not really the people that count. The people that count is the civil service. That's what those shows teach you. That's where the power lies. Everyone knows that.
Well,
The politicians don't have any power.
it'd be nice if you had some decent ones that did. I'll say I'm rooting for Rupert Lowe, and that I've been incredibly disappointed by Mr. Farage.
I mean, that's not surprising. He's like Thatcherism on steroids, and we've already
Seems
picked
to be.
Thatcherism apart.
Seems
It's
to
an
be.
absolute Thatcherism was a failed ideology. Monetarism destroyed our industrial base, and they did that just to reduce the power of the working classes. They didn't care about the long-term picture, which meant that we would have to rely on imports way too much, even though we had the means, and we still have the means. There's still loads of unmined coal that can't be picked out of the ground anymore because the infrastructure's been destroyed or sold off. You
Well,
know,
you could ship it to China to be processed.
it's a depressing time to be English. It
Yeah.
is, but then it's an
Imagine
interesting
trying to
time.
imagine trying to redo any of that and I don't know, create jobs doing it.
I mean, it's not impossible, but it would take. You'd have to wrestle the stranglehold of the City of London and all of the regulations that were put in place in the past, probably by the post-war consensus. I'm not entirely sure about the legislation for that, but I know that there were checks and balances that were in place until 1986, when they were removed by Thatcher because she wanted to free up the markets, and she had a really naive view of how free market capitalism would work. So naive. She was an absolute patsy. She gets it in the neck, and I agree with it, that she was a wall-eyed zealot, but she was just following orders, which is we've heard that one before.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, there's a lot of people that just follow orders. We've seen where that results.
But the thing that's, for me, as an artist, turbulent times, that's more interesting.
I mean, it does make for better art, but
Exactly.
Huh.
Like, I mean, if I'd been born 50 years earlier, I might have had a more comfortable life. But you can see in the frustration in, I think, again, coming back to Bacon, is probably because of the comfort that he enjoyed, because he enjoyed all of the.
He was able to live in a very accommodating world. A perfect example of that. The most perfect example of that is John Cleese. And how upset he is with how the world isn't the world that he grew up in, and yet he keeps continuing to blame it on the people that want to try and stop the world from being like it is.
Well, and he was another puppet, and much as we all love Monty Python, and it was important what they did. That was pivotal in my life. In 1987, my brother recorded Monty Python because my parents are like, "Oh yeah, Monty Python. We used to watch that in the 70s. It was really cool." And my brother recorded it. And at that time, for some reason, I don't know why, BBC Two was showing the absolutely insane Off the Planet Series 3, which is often forgotten because everybody thinks about the Parrot sketch or Albatross, all the stuff they did at the Hollywood Bowl. But Series 3, before it went to slightly crappier in Series 4 after Cleese left, is where it gets super surreal and bizarre. And my first introduction to Monty Python, aged, oh God, I would have been 8 when I saw that, was the Kamikaze Scotsman. If you are familiar with that sketch. And the bit around that was the adults not being able to read at story time. Jack and Ori, they couldn't pronounce simple words. Imagine what sort of light bulb that set off in my head. That was absolutely pivotal.
Oh, I have seen that one. It's been a long time.
It's completely nuts. And there's so much of that season. That's the season. That's where the art is in Monty Python. 100%.
The
Season
Queen's
3
own
is where
Kamikaze Highlanders.
it's completely nuts. But it's also a bit carry on, so I could relate to it. Because up to that point, my idea of British satire was Carry On, which is very much just straight parody with the double entendres and stuff. But that set my brain on fire and is responsible for me being so anti-establishment, which at first manifested itself in typical Thatcher, blah, blah, thinking that the Tories are evil, blah, 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 not realizing that it was a uni party. Most people didn't realize that in the 80s or the 90s. It was only Tony Blair that opened everyone's eyes to the uni party.
That's a fair point. There's a whole lot of folks that really noticed Blairisms and such.
Oh, I was a Blairite for precisely about 18 months. And I think it was the Bernie Ecclestone scandal in 1999, where it was revealed that he'd given loads of money to the Labour Party to, change legislation and stuff. And this is just someone that's in the head of Formula One Grand Prix, has got no business meddling in the affairs of government. And Tony Blair's reaction when questioned by the press was, "Oh, I think I'm a pretty straight up kind of guy,
Not even an I'm sorry. Very classy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
in the words of one George Carlin, it's a big party, and you ain't in it.
100%.
You know, on the lines of that reference, I highly recommend anybody who's a fan of George Carlin and Jon Stewart to watch Jon Stewart interviewing George Carlin. And
Yeah,
you'll see a very young Jon
era.
Stewart meeting one of his idols, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, because I bet there was a massive clash, right?
Well,
No,
this would be
no.
a young Jon Stewart before he was
This is Jon Stewart's
media-addled.
thoroughly enamored by him, and it's great to see him with hope in his heart. It's a very different Jon Stewart.
Yeah, I remember
to be
Perhaps
fair,
even
he
a
does
view
great
from a
with the
reality that could
firefighters.
have been.
But I mean, what happened to George Carlin? Do we think he was removed,
He was fucking old, is what had happened.
he was old? But how? He wasn't
Now, if we're
super
talking
old, was he?
Bill Hicks, well, there's lots of questions.
Bill Hicks died early because he had pancreatic cancer. They caught it at stage 3?
Yeah,
it was like stage 3 or 4 when they caught it, and
then he had
totally
to move on to his talk radio career.
But then, exactly.
That's another story.
I thought it was suspect at the time. Seriously, I was like, who gets cancer in their 30s and dies
people
that
get
quickly?
It's not uncommon.
They get it now because of all of the shit. But back then,
sure.
that was like, people might, if unlucky people, heavy smokers in their 50s, stuff like that, people who've had unhealthy lifestyles, sometimes in their 40s, if they're really unlucky.
Like, say if you're trying to unite Jamaica and bring around peace,
let me help you out.
You could get
with
a
this.
nick on your toe and end up getting cancer that kills you, for instance.
Let me help you out with this. How many fat influencers are surviving into their 40s right now?
An unfortunately large number.
Right. So, don't put it past the notion that people with an incredibly unhealthy habit, let alone multiple, like Bill Hicks said,
Now that said,
couldn't
fat
run into the
influencers.
wonderful genetic diversity
Now,
that
if
the
we want to talk
lottery
about
that
fat
will land you
influencers
pancreatic cancer.
and that scene, there's a little bit of a difference there. It seems that nature doesn't really. Nature abhors a vacuum, especially a vacuum of food. So, you know, the food influencers tend not to fare quite so well in the long term. Their heart's in it, but well,
their heart's in it, but unfortunately, it's surrounded by a layer of yeah.
You know, not only do they work hard, their hearts work hard, harder than they do even. Yep.
Yeah. But I need to set the record straight, like this notion that you need to come and rescue England.
Yeah, no, we just need to send you the tools so that you can do it yourself.
We can do it ourselves.
Well, you can
if we need to.
Well, anyway.
I think they will probably. This is, putting my Mystic Meg hat on. I think they will probably push too hard, too fast, and fuck around and find out. I think there's going to be unrest if they keep pushing with this internet censorship stuff. I'm fully prepared to lose my channel because I don't want to do. I don't want it. I don't relish it. It would be a bummer, but like if that's what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. I'm not going to kowtow to these ridiculous new rules. I'm just not going to do it.
I hope that that's a common attitude. That said, with some of the things I'm seeing, it looks like there's a number of folks over there on your side of the pond that genuinely hold similar ideals. And
people are literally waking up and going like, why should I work when I can't have a house, when I can't afford to even have a family? Why should I get up and go and do, like, that's a really dangerous place for the populace to be, where people are going, yeah, I agree with that. Like, if that's what Joe Public is thinking, then it's no wonder they're trying to shut it down. But it doesn't matter. The toothpaste is out of the tube. Like, if that's where they've led us and there's no respite, they haven't got the sense that their grandparents had. They understood that you needed to give crumbs. And that's what, 30-year mortgages, whatever, buying a house. My folks bought the house they lived in most of their life for like, I don't know, it was on a 30-year mortgage. I think they put a down payment of about $5,000 or something, and it cost them like, I don't know, $25,000 in 1985 or something like that. Something ridiculous, $30,000 maybe. Like, it was nothing.
Yeah, even adjusted for inflation, like housing prices are crazy.
Yeah. So this is what their grandparents. We're talking about the 1% here. Their grandparents understood that you needed to, open that library and pay for that part with your name on it and sponsor that wing of the university and
plant some trees you don't intend to enjoy the shade of, maybe.
They understood that. That's the way you keep people under, is by keeping them comfortable. This new lot seem to think that they can replace us all with AI and robots and lock us into some sort of Chinese-style nightmare.
Yeah, funny thing about robots and AI and all the products that they can make all the products in the world. They can make every single interesting, cool, low-end, high-end, mid-range. They can make every product you could ever desire. Who's going to buy it?
Except this is the bit this is where it falls down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing with London and the rent costs is, I predicted this in 2010. I saw where it was going, because at that time, I was starting to get. I was, I don't know, 32, whatever. I've been commuting to London for a few years, and I was starting to get tired of it. And I was like, I go out in Soho all the time. How much is it going to cost me to live there? And even at that point, it was just outside what I could afford because my wage was quite very meager. I was on like 24,800 or something then, and it was out of my range. And I asked quite openly to my colleagues, because you talk about shit in those days. You don't now, but you would in those days. And I was like, this system is going to fall down. When it gets to the point where juniors in corporate jobs can't afford to live in London anymore, how is this going to work? And I noticed at the same time, obviously the rail fare kept going up every year, and I was like, if that keeps going up and rent keeps going up, how are companies going to maintain the lower levels that they need in their, in their corporate infrastructure? How are you going to have the junior marketing executives if they can't even afford to share, like 5 to a house or whatever bollocks that would have been normalized in the sort of early 10s? Now that's impossible. Exactly what I predicted has come true. And everybody commutes into London now because they can't afford to live there unless they're on 60,000 plus, or even then, it's difficult for them, and it just keeps going up every year. It's like you say, if everything keeps getting more expensive, then the economy is just going to grind to a halt.
And just the nature
The,
of
the,
things, you can only you can't get blood from a stone.
so what is that? You have to ask yourself, the likes of Bill Gates, who's clearly a psychopath, what on earth does he think the future is? Does he honestly believe that we can become techno-feudal? Like, how can the techno bit work if you haven't got any money?
Or
How
worse
does
yet,
this
all your
work?
money doesn't have any value anymore.
Yeah. And what, like, even if you do replace half your workforce with AI and robots or whatever bullshit in 10 years' time, what are they producing? Who is it for? Who is buying this stuff? At that point, what is everything just grinds to a halt. Just the way I see it, they've been very, very stupid. If they wanted to roll out this planet-wide, like prison planet that Alex Jones or what's his name? I can't think. David Icke always goes on about. Like, you would have done that gradually,
If you had any sense, yes,
rather
that's
than
how you would do it.
pushing all at once is what they seem to be doing now. It's like they saw the Chinese social credit system, like, ooh, we can bring that over here. But they haven't thought through any of the implications of it. And the shit is about to hit the fan, is what I think.
It's not far off. Well, when you have ignoring, regional history, when you have a little girl that is willing to arm herself to defend her sister against invaders because she knows that no adult will do so, then you've found yourself in a very, shall we call it, an untenable position.
I don't understand. It's like they've taken a hammer to society, and I don't understand it. I don't understand how it fits in with the aims of consumer capitalism.
Well, I'll be honest with you, because we've reported on this, at least from our side of things, for honestly quite a few years now. And a lot of things that are happening in the later days, really, a lot of it reeks of desperation.
Yeah.
Because too much happened too fast. Too many people noticed too many things and put too many things together. There is too much knowledge in the hands of the public for things to function as they have functioned all our lives.
I
And
don't understand. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. It's baffling to me why they are not happy. I know, obviously, psycho, blah, blah, blah. They don't think like us. They're whatever. They think that we're ants and they're there to tread on us. But it's like, well, what's that for? What are you going to do? Like, when you finished whatever you might have got up to on Epstein's Island, where'd you go from there? Like, like, what if you've destroyed everything to the extent that an artist can't even afford to buy a tube of paint anymore because the inflation is so out of control? Then you've got no art. What are you going to fill your mansions with? Dust?
I don't know. Maybe they'll get some imports from Epstein's Island. Wouldn't surprise me.
It's so destructive. It's so anti-human. I really just I can't fathom the illogic of it. And I'm not one that's big on logic, but it's very confusing to me because I always look at things in the long term. Like I said, I saw this coming in 2010, the London system breaking down. And it totally is. It's really odd.
Systems have fallen apart.
But luckily, you've got artists who can paint the flames.
Sadly, that's kind of it's one of the few avenues left over there with as draconian as things are getting.
Yeah. But I'm not. I mean, I always say flippantly, like, hope is the beginning of suffering. And it's kind of a weak position. It's like, I hope that things get better. You have to take action.
You do.
But that doesn't necessarily mean going out with flaming pitchforks. I think we still have functional capitalism, just to the extent where I can still buy things just about.
Yeah, true. You don't have to buy
it's
things
still
on a
there.
credit system that they can turn off yet.
Yeah, we've still got the power. We can still go out and continue to use money, as I do, real money, not cards. I do use cards here and there, obviously,
at least
because everyone does.
Money.
But like real money, if everybody keeps using it, they can't take it away. If a company does something you don't like, don't support that company. I have been doing that for years. Case in point, artificial sweeteners. I don't like the taste of them. I've never liked the taste of them. There was a period in the early noughties where I tried to convince myself to chew the gum. I don't know why. I was going through a normie stage or something. And I could sort of tell, because I began to think that Diet Coke wasn't disgusting. And then I was like, hang on a minute. It's because I'm chewing this gum. And that's I've noticed another thing. When you go to a supermarket checkout, all you can see is sugar-free gum, sugar-free mints, sugar-free this, sugar-free that, which means, artificial sweeteners. It is really pushed to the extent where they changed the legislation and they introduced a sugar tax.
Oh, really?
Yep, so that sugary drinks would get taxed more. So what the companies did in response was introduced either getting rid of sugar and replacing it with artificial sweeteners. But the point is, like, I knew this stuff was crap. It tastes like crap. It's always been crap. Sugary fizz was a lot nicer. I've learned to live without it. Or I make my own. Because guess what? Lemonade is the single most easiest drink to make at home. You need lemons, sugar, and carbonated water.
Well, you don't even need the carbonated water. You can just have water.
Yeah, you could just have water.
You like the bubbles, of course, but you know.
I like the bubbles.
Oh, fair enough.
That was something that I discovered from cutting out all these things as they suddenly became unpalatable because of the artificial sweeteners. It was actually, I could get much the same effect from just buying fruit juice and mixing it with fizzy water.
Huh.
And
How
that's
about
why I
that?
did it. And what I discovered through that was actually, it was the carbonation that I enjoyed the most. So at work, I'm a sod for the carbonation on the tap. But the point is, you can vote with your feet. This is what people forget a lot, I think. There's a tendency in this country to go, oh, for fuck's sake, and then just buy the new shit product that's replaced the good one because it's the same product and you've always bought that product. It's a bit like the same reason
Enjoy
that
new
people keep
Coke.
voting. Yeah, people keep voting conservative. I've always voted conservative. It doesn't matter that
Same reason people vote
they're
Labor. Ugh.
I've always voted Labour. I've always voted Conservative. There's an element of that I've always done, like this habitual
Fucking
thing.
brand loyalty. Good God.
I think it's more to do with Britishness.
Well, no, it's an American thing too. It very
It's a
much is.
stubbornness. So
It
maybe it's
might be
a European thing then. But
yeah, it
I
might just be. It might be a proper West thing.
yeah, it's a stubbornness. Oh, I've always done that, so I'm going to keep doing it, even if it's been degraded.
Well,
Whereas I'm the type that goes, oh, Dr. Pepper has aspartame in it now. Guess I'm not drinking Dr. Pepper anymore. And then,
yeah,
it hasn't touched my lips in like 7 years.
Yeah, that's how I approach life, and
Yeah.
it would be better if a lot of people did. Like, oh, you don't want me to have that? Okay, cool. I won't.
I won't then.
Yeah, it's really just that simple. Because as few options as you might have, you've still got a surprising number. We don't live. I mean, even as shitty as things might be over there in Great Britain, it's not North Korea. It's not China. You've got options. You can do otherwise. You might
you
not
can
be
make
able
it
to
yourself.
speak as you like, but you can. There's
So many of these
there's a
things
lot
you can just
can
make
do.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I don't like the messaging of a particular brand for whatever reason, then I'd stop buying the brand. If the brand becomes a shadow of its former self because of cost cutting, then I stop buying the brands. Because at the end of the day, it's just stuff. When you're 6 feet under, or at the point of your death or whatever, in your final moments, you're not going to think, "Oh, I wish I hadn't been so harsh on Nike." You know, like, it's just stuff. You can always replace it with other stuff, and if worse comes to worse, you can always make your own stuff. I think this is something that artists understand more than regular people because we're creators. If you get what I'm saying, it's not that I'm saying I'm better than them. It's just that you realize that you can use your tool to do something. Like, I don't watch television anymore. I spent the whole of the 80s and the 90s watching television, all of it. There were fewer channels, and consequently, the quality was higher and stuff like that. Yeah, we were spoiled, blah blah blah. But as it got crappy, I just gradually tuned out. And the thing I say flippantly to people now, if they say, "Oh, do you see?" I go, and I am being ironic. I'm not being self-aggrandizing. I say I don't watch television. I am television, which is like, it means that I'm not referring to my Twitch channel because hardly any bugger tunes into that. I'm grateful for the people that do tune into that. Don't get me wrong. It's great that I've got any audience at all, and I'm super grateful for it. What I mean by that is I make my own entertainment. I don't need to sit down and, like, all of the things that we valued like stuff that I've grown up with has either been ruined or it just doesn't exist anymore. And like YouTube is there, so you can watch
Yeah,
people's original content, or you
adapt or
can
die.
watch old stuff. Yeah,
It's
like
really that. Like you can. Boomers they're stuck on TV. They just are.
yeah,
My
yeah.
parents,
My folks are exactly the same.
my dad's a big Trump guy. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I saved him from the fucking Q rabbit hole when that shit was crazy.
Yeah,
So he's been online, he's been into things, and he still watches TV,
yeah. My
and
mum's
he
the
still
same.
places value in what is said by the talking heads that literally hate him and want him dead.
Yeah, and the news, even though it became very obvious, if you hadn't already worked it out, I worked it out around the time of the Iraq War. It took me a little while, but I worked it out around the time of the Iraq War that the news agencies were not to be trusted. But my parents all through COVID, they said you can't do this and can't do that. You're just taking instruction from the television. Look outside the window. Has anything changed? Are there piles of bodies in the street?
Yeah, the only place there was
No.
the origin.
Like the television is telling you this, but could you get through to it? No.
And there's
And
the other part. When you try to argue, you're not arguing with a person. You're arguing with the point of view of, in your case,
that has been in
the BBC.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get it because the BBC did used to. I mean, the BBC gave us I
Well, it's a
Claudius.
cultural institution, and it did so
The
much good.
BBC gave us so
Just like
many
PBS
good things
here in America. They gave us Sesame Street. They gave us all these good specials. Gave, past tense.
Yeah, exactly.
Once upon a time, in a different world, where things weren't as they are, they gave us these things. But we don't live there anymore.
No, and it's recognizing that and just moving on. When Lord love them, it's our parents, but when the boomers die out, television is done.
Oh my goodness. Generation
It's finished.
Z they're very different from what anyone is really quite prepared for. They really are.
They're going to be even more different. That's the one good thing about the online safety bill, is that it means that maybe not actually, Zoomers have already probably been corrupted by porn, I'd imagine. Because you got to remember, Zoomers is now 25-year-olds.
That's a fact.
Like, yeah, the oldest are 25, so they've already been corrupted. Although I found that I got on better at my previous job with Zoomers than I did with the millennials, which is interesting.
Well, the thing about that is, I think, is that where we grew up in that hybrid analog digital childhood, these people, having grown up entirely in a second generation digital childhood, have developed immunities that we had to develop on our own.
And millennials didn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they got one-shotted just like boomers got one-shotted.
And they were huge. The millennial generation is like much larger than Gen X. Loads of Gen X got aborted, and the ones that didn't get aborted had drug overdoses in the 90s. So if you're Gen X, I'm talking about late Gen X, because early Gen X are basically just proto-boomers. Does that even make sense?
It is hit and miss, because, I mean, you're talking about middle 70s, so they're coming up with...
Well, middle 70s is onwards, so that's my brother and myself. So middle 70s to early 80s is a kind of its own generation. I've read about this somewhere, and it was described as the Nintendo generation. So people that wrote book reports that they did from libraries in primary school, but by the time they got to secondary school, what you call high school, it was on a computer. So people that knew tapes and vinyl also went through CDs and then MP3s and so on. So we've got one foot in both areas, like solidly, in a way that early Gen X is not quite the same.
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
late Gen X is probably the sweet spot of modern peoples until we'll see how Generation Z fares. They might actually be fully adapted to modernity and able to handle it properly.
I th- uh, I think they are, and I think there's also it's kind of if I remember, it was I also predicted this before I saw the movie, was that future generations would start to reject the digital world more. And if you remember the movie Her, do you remember the movie Her?
I'm familiar. I
It's
haven't
very
seen it.
relevant to the worlds that we're in now,
Oh,
because
it very much
obviously,
is. Yeah.
yeah,
I actually abandoned media. Yeah. So
yeah. So like in that film that's just set, I can't remember where it's fully set. Something like I don't know, 2030s or something, isn't it? And it's
yeah,
like,
near future.
yeah. There's a whole thing of the younger people embracing analog technology and rejecting digital stuff and like this sort of retro stuff. I saw that coming. I've seen a lot of things coming, but and then realized after the fact. But that's one of the things I saw coming as well. And it's happening now because a lot of the Zoomers that I worked with in my previous job, they like the same music I liked. They like 80s stuff
Well, and
because
there's a funny thing, as a DJ, show in an hour, by the way. But as a DJ, some of the best modern music isn't truly modern. It's not new. It's playing off
yeah.
of late 80s, early 90s musical styles and tropes.
Yeah.
And it's good music, like actually, but it pulls heavily on those styles in that era.
I mean, that's something I think that's the real tragedy of our age is that because of unrestricted free market capitalism, because of market forces, there is no new culture because it's too much of a risk. So it didn't happen. And because the working classes have been locked out of power, at first it was political power, now it's cultural power. And these are trends that I see rising in my reels. People complaining about the nepotism, nepo babies in like the creative fields in the music industry in particular. And I think the fact that Zoomers feel that they like think about it contextually, right? Zoomers liking, I don't know, Wham or Duran Duran or whatever would be like if we, when we were their age, were like really into early 60s or something.
I'm not gonna lie.
Like
I
it's
am all
it's actually, when you
about some
think
Bobby
about it,
Darin.
it's
Sorry,
fucking weird though. When
it
you
is and
actually
it
think
isn't.
about it
But it
culturally,
shouldn't be as big as it is. Like a
it's
person like
because
me who is into late 50s and 60s stuff at that time, that shouldn't be the norm. You should
no,
be able to draw from your modern current culture. There should be
but they
many
can't
cultural
because they
touchstones from
reckon
which you can pull. And
yeah.
exactly that, there are not.
No, because the people I work with, I was in an investment bank, I won't mention which, and obviously they're smart people because they're in that job. So they're the smarter end of Zoomers or whatever.
Well, so they don't
They
want to consume slop, so they go
yeah.
to something good.
So like maybe some of the female ones would have like, oh, I like Taylor Swift, but I also like Madonna. But when you think about that, it's an incredibly weird position compared to us when we were teenagers. For example, I didn't get until way after the fact how much of pulp was ripped off of Roxy Music simply because Roxy Music wasn't on my radar when I was a teenager. My brother wasn't into it. He didn't listen to it. Therefore, I wasn't exposed to it. It wasn't really played very much on the radio apart from the really big hits every now and again. So I hadn't drawn the conclusion. When I went back about a few years ago now, I bought a best of. I can't really remember what it was. I think it was because I stayed in an Airbnb in 2020 and they had a best of Roxy Music, and I put it on and discovered all this extra music that I didn't know. The first thing I recognized was how much Jarvis had borrowed from Roxy Music. It was ridiculous. And I was a huge Pulp fan, massive. Like if you'd asked me in like 1996, do you like Blur or Oasis? I'd have gone, I like Pulp. You know what I mean? Like even though I was a Blur fan, at that point I would have gone Pulp. But after the fact, it's just if you're not exposed to it, yeah, it's really bizarre because there was so the point I'm trying to make, struggling for, is that there was so much available that was new and good
We
in the
grew up within a
90s.
wealth of culture.
Yeah, that you didn't
A literal
need
wealth
the
of
old
culture.
stuff. And I remember thinking like 80 when I was a teenager in the 90s, thinking like 80s stuff, apart from that which I was personally connected to from
Well,
being
and
into
two,
like Aha.
we should probably mention as well, our parents had that same opportunity.
Yeah, so we knew about their stuff. We knew
Like,
about
our
our
parents grew
parents
up
made
with
a
that
point
same-
of telling
Oh,
us
there's-
about
no,
their
you li-
stuff.
Well, yeah, like when we were kids. I mean, you're a little older than me, but still, that's not a huge difference in that because the difference starts after the 90s. But anyway,
Yeah.
when we were kids, it's like rock and rollers. Like if you're in your 30s, like you're not making new music. You're just some old rock and roller or some old musician from whatever. And now, I mean, you've got people in their 30s and 40s putting out stuff because there isn't.
There's nothing new
we're-
under the sun. There's
We're
nothing good.
Only, as a matter of fact, in just the past year, I've seen the trend of garage bands, at least here in America, starting to become.
Yeah,
a
it's
thing again.
happening here. I'm literally going to see one on Friday.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, like a Zoomer who helped me out with my show. I won't dox him, but I'm going to see his band on Friday with my friend. Like we got on him instantly because this is what I found with Zoomers. A lot of them have old heads on young shoulders. And I think it's probably because of the times we live in. Like, how else could you culturally react to things if you're smart? How else? Like, you've got a choice between Taylor Swift or the Smiths. You know,
Right. Yeah.
it's like shit or sugar, isn't it? So yeah, like I think Zoomers are interesting. I think Alpha are going to be a massive disappointment. I think they've been spoiled and ruined. I see Alphas on the train like tonight, coming back from, from work. They're just feral. They're absolutely feral, and they're desperate for attention because they're not getting it anywhere else. So there's negative attention.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, Alphas are going to be a mess.
That's going to take some dealing with, certainly.
Exactly. We got right off the point, really, haven't we? But
well, not really.
Hopefully, it's been interesting.
Well, this is an interview. This is any given guest can be taken anyway. Depending on what the topics are at hand. So we're having an art discussion. So
yeah,
it's going to be
and
that's fine.
that encompasses culture and everything really. And like I have touched on politics because I'm in a fairly unique position where I was very left wing, and then events and in the world and otherwise, and just general exposure to different things led me to move over to the right. And now, plus God, my politics are more God. It's more Christian, so it's more like, yeah, like,
that's probably
yeah,
one of the safest positions and directions for the modern world to take. In all honesty,
yeah. I mean, I
mean,
think
even
there will be a revival in interest in it,
there very much is
because of,
actually. At least here in the States, it's there is absolutely a Christian revival, and it's good to see.
even in my
It's
local church, I've noticed the numbers are up in the last few months. There is a whole bunch of new people coming in. They're middle aged, but
well, hey,
you know, most of the church demographic for mine, because where I live and everything, um, sends older, like boomers, or even some of the silent. Is it the silent or greatest? I can't remember.
Silent
Silent, I
Generation.
think.
Yeah, Silent Generation is right prior to Boomers.
Yeah.
The greatest generation is the one
So it's like
before.
boomers and silent mostly. Um, but we're seeing more Gen Xers now. So I think the tide's turning a bit, and I'm not surprised because things are getting pretty desperate, aren't they?
They are. They are. And even as the heathen that I am, I encourage and appreciate Christianity in the modern world.
Yeah.
It's it can be seen as nothing less than a force for good and some order in a very chaotic time. You can only have so much chaos, because then order is going to find a way in. And what is that order going to be?
I mean, that was a thing in the Adam Curtis documentary as well. Like, he had a whole thing about he was tying into the freeing up and the chaos that Thatcher released with the emergence of Hawking's, theories on the universe and God, and or lack thereof, and how that sort of convinced people for a while, but then began to become undone by the chaos physicians who uh, they came to the conclusion that it was so improbable that it could not possibly be anything other than intelligent design, which is so hilarious to me. And yeah, it kind of comes back to Thatcher and Britain, and how she was dealing with forces she didn't understand fully. She wanted to free up and make the middle classes bigger, because that's where the class that she was from. And so that's where she identified with, and that's where she was comfortable. And working class people had always horrified her. I believe in school her nickname was Snobby Roberts. She's from Grantham, which isn't quite the north, but it's nearly the north. So her sort of high Toryism that she inherited from her greengrocer father went down like a lead balloon in those sort of communities.
I can imagine.
So yeah, Thatcher's, I think you can reappraise it, but only from the point of view that documentary is spot on, that she did not know what she was doing, and other people have come to that conclusion previously. But she just took a wrecking ball to everything, and I think if she was still alive today, and she saw what has become of the middle classes
Congrats,
as a
Maggie.
result, I
Good
think
job,
she would
Mags.
probably have regrets about it.
You think? You think maybe?
I think she even a zealot like herself would not be happy that middle class people can't, on a decent wage, can't afford to get on the property ladder.
Hmm. Well,
She wouldn't be happy about that.
I guess my final comment on recent British history is that it is very unfortunate that a man by the name of Enoch was not more appreciated in his day and thereafter, and is only starting to see the light these days.
The inflammatory rhetoric didn't belong where it was stated, but it's a point of view that you could see that he saw that multiculturalism isn't always what it's cracked up to be, just because of the nature of humanity, which is tribal. And I will say no more than that. I think that's whatever perspective you have politically, you can't argue against that sort of, innate need that people have to be around what's familiar.
Indeed, and in the case of anyone, that's what they want. We can look at hiring issues that have shown themselves in the H-1B system in America, or ghettoization in various countries, or anything for that matter. It's a consideration that needs to always be taken into hand, because that's just the way that most people are.
But I think, ironically, these new Britons are just going to get assimilated, and they'll just be as pissed off and miserable as the rest of us.
Yeah, well, yeah, you might end up with a bunch of, Tejanos, basically, that are like, yo, man, we need to get these immigrants out of here, man. They fucking with shit.
I mean, it just, yeah, like, are we all just human at the end of the day?
Well,
We're all
except for
God's
communists.
children.
But anyway.
Except for communists. They're godless monsters.
Right, and also human.
But we're all God's children, and we're all just trying to make our way through this vale of tears. And this is where art comes in, because it's my job to try and lift you up, to create something that either makes you think, makes you laugh, makes you, feel joy, or it may be sadness or something. Just feel something. If art isn't doing that, then it's failing.
What's that, Craig?
On that notion of art, Rob, have you heard of W Place?
Of what, sorry?
W
Place.
No.
Really?
It's like a canvas that spans the surface of the earth. And imagine it's basically MS Paint.
Right.
So, speaking of making you feel something, if you go to wplace.live and you find your way over to San Francisco, I think you'll feel something. Actually,
yeah.
I believe I can share my screen so you can see it instead. Oh, yep, there we go. That should do it.
Hang on, let me see. Do I actually have to click in this? There we go.
So there's San Francisco, and it might look schizophrenic, but if
well, it's San Francisco.
I zoom into this area,
I'm attempting to watch this. Oh my god!
And I'm not even looking, and I know exactly what you're looking at.
This is so. Oh my god! It's so internet.
I'm slowly updating it for a modern audience.
Well, I get the tentacle. That's cool. I instantly see that. There's a load of weeb shit.
Yeah, there is.
Oh my good lord! So it's like a massive like pixel
like a
art
paintball
thing, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
A pixel.
You know,
Some
the
people
spray-
do
I
that
don't know if
kind of thing
everybody-
on Minecraft
basically.
servers, don't they? They
I
have
don't know if you
Minecraft
guys have
servers.
if you have one of those kind of walls in the town where you grew up, but actually I think it's still here in town. There's a wall here where I live that is kind of somewhat famously, at least here, just kind of used to put up spray art.
Yeah.
Or paintings and what have you. And every once in a while, the city will come by and just blast it white. If some uptight person decides it's too egregious, but it's not illegal to paint on it. It's encouraged. So this is like a kind of like a global version of that. Is what it feels. That's the feel of it. You'll notice there's a significant overrepresentation of certain people that have gotten in early, but that's just the way it works.
Yeah, obviously. It's always going to be. Empty vessels make the most noise.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of rattling going on in this place.
There's a lot of rattling in there.
I came in and decided to give it the postmodernist update because the spawn of the notion that all art must represent or reflect reality. So since it's San Francisco, I've decided to start giving it a little bit of a makeover.
Pooing it up, as they say.
Well, what can Brown do for you?
Well, hey, I mean that's what they're after. That's their deal. So, enjoy.
Wow, that looks like a lot of work. I appreciate the
It could be
the effort that. Yeah, see, this is what I had to do when I thought I wasn't an artist. I was just fucking around on MS Paint or whatever. Like before I knew that I actually innately had a genetic memory of how to paint with oils, which is basically what the reason for my whole career. Well, that and a friend of a friend and stuff. But basically, yeah, that's mad. And it's the whole world.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Let me go ahead and zoom out here for a minute. And you can see it drops
It's
off.
like it's on top of a Google Maps thing.
Yep. Let's go ahead and check in on DC. This is always a fun one. You can imagine with
Oh
the
my
sentiment
God.
that you saw over there, the kind of people that are on here.
And another fun thing that's always good to check on W Place is areas of international conflict, because the population.
Oh, you want to see one that's wild?
Oh, are you gonna go to the
international conflict? I'm gonna head over to good old Europe for a hot second.
Oh,
let's take a little look. A little look see over. Oh yeah, here. How about this place?
Oh my God, no. Oh no. No.
Actually,
this is gonna be bad. Oh no.
I mean, you can see there's the NAFO people have been at work making sure it's got a certain aesthetic to it.
It's an interesting project idea. I'm surprised I'd never heard of this before, to be honest.
I hadn't heard of it until just.
How old is it?
I have no idea. Like, I started messing with it probably within about a week or so ago.
Oh, so it's fairly new.
At least fairly new to me.
Do we have a history timeline on this?
There's another hot button one.
Oh no! Oh God, no!
No way!
You can imagine it's exactly what you think.
Okay, well apparently it did launch this year in July, but
oh my God!
This is trying to get in it.
Oh
Now, I will say
my
this: a lot of the
lord.
red that you see here are little hearts, which I can
Yeah,
appreciate.
well, yeah, that's nice at least. It's the right sentiment
Yeah.
for that area.
But for anyone
Oh
that's going to be listening,
my.
that's wplace.live. It is absolutely a wild,
But then
wild
You
again,
place
could,
to
there's
check
all
out.
this shit that's sprayed everywhere. So,
I
and
mean,
good lord,
what is that? Uh, where? Zoom out. Oh,
there's always something to zoom out
oh,
for a reason.
we're still okay. I forget
Now, what I
how
can
big
do,
that area has become.
yeah, if I zoom in a bit and I get to this point, I can hit this, which kind of grays out the paint so you can see the
Yeah.
geography behind it. So, if we get into one of the least controversial places on Earth,
Okay, go to North Korea.
But yeah, for anybody that's wanting to check this out at home, definitely do so. It's a lot of fun. But as we've gotten
It's hilarious. Now, the
You
thing
can
you
waste a
should do is
lot of time here, can't you?
oh, very, very much.
now one thing I will
Yeah.
caution anybody to do with this is don't get personally invested in stuff that happens on here. It's really not
Yeah,
worth
obviously,
your
but
time.
it's not going to be. Yeah, it's
Actually,
like you
where's
say, it's the wall
oh, there we are.
in your town that gets painted over and painted over.
Yeah, it's gonna get.
Oh
That
my
was this guy.
god, this is
That was this guy.
awesome.
Yeah, it's quite the thing. Like personally, for anyone
Oh
viewing right
shit!
now, I'm zooming in on Beijing,
Wow,
so we'll be very curious to see what's there.
that is.
I mean,
Oh
people
man,
actually put great art on here, and then it gets
oh man, there
destroyed,
is
which
some
is
Well, of
hilarious.
course. Look
good
at that! I
stuff
love
in
it.
Beijing.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
like North Korea weebs.
someone's foxy.
Someone's fuck. Oh, well, they're everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
so much.
it's definitely weeb dominated. Although there is some Amerime, to be fair.
It's the Powerpuff Girls. What are they doing in North Korea?
Exactly. What the fuck?
The what?
Maybe it might be that they're finally getting television from the late '90s.
I mean,
And just outside of
Oh,
Beijing,
and then
the
there's like
whitest kids you
picture
know.
quality too. Look at this.
Huh.
Like that's. I mean, it's pixelated, but there's like photo quality, and this, by the way, the best you can do to place pixels on here is like the fastest you can go is you can hold spacebar to have the
wait, so
pixels
you
just go
can't
wherever your
copy
mouse
and
is.
paste stuff. You have to literally
No,
Yeah,
create it.
pixel by
you
pixel.
do it by hand.
Wow.
Now, like I said, the fastest you can do it. Here, I'll go ahead and get rid of this ad
Then
shit, and
that
I'll zoom
picture
in
of
here.
that general is well
See
impressive.
right here, you can click or hold space to paint. So I can,
Oh
get
my
in here
god.
nice and close, and that's as fast as I can go. And I have to change colors by clicking. Let's
Yeah,
see. So if I
it's
hit,
really
I can
quite
toggle
something.
on opacity.
But as we've gotten kind of completely
Whoa,
off
Yeah,
the
massively off the topic.
yeah, so we've gone so far out of field that I think we've pretty well covered everything that any one of us
Oh, good
individually
lord.
wanted to. Was there anything you were wanting to ask our dear guest here, Craig?
I know this has been an interesting conversation. It's nice to have someone on from the art scene every so often.
Yeah, definitely, and do consider yourself welcome in the future as well. But
Yeah,
was
I
there
mean
anything else you
it's
wanted
been
to...
fun. I feel like I dominated conversation a bit too much, but then I am a talker,
Well,
and
I did
that's
have you on
the
for an interview, so that was kind of the point. Next time you can offer some commentary.
Oh, we need to check out Nodmal.
But with that said, where should people try and find your
Oh,
stuff? I'm
my
going to throw
goodness.
the links to
oh,
your
that's
Instagram.
actually done the EastEnders map. That is so funny.
Really?
If you're familiar with the intro to
Oh,
EastEnders,
shit.
oh wow, there's a repeal the Online Safety Act. Wow,
That's great.
wow, that is actually really cool. Wow, this is
Oh, my
really
goodness.
cool. You can waste so much time there, though. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's going on in
that's
London?
such a time suck.
A lot is going on in London. Wow.
Yes.
That's even busier than SF. It's
East
super
End,
busy.
there it
To be
is.
fair, To be fair, I think that the climate.
Can we
in
go to where
SF
I
is
live?
substantially improved.
Can we go to where I live? I want to see if anyone's put anything on where I live.
The answer is
So-
yes.
Whereabouts?
Right, so come out of London, scroll out, scroll out, scroll out. I'm gonna okay, see that island in Kent? Kent is in the southeast of the country.
Southeast.
Southeast,
All
right? See that island? The island
right.
there?
This one.
That one, yep, zoom in on that. That's Sheppey, that's where I live.
Okay.
Let's see if anybody's put anything on Sheppey. Oh my
Let's
god,
look
there's
it up.
shit on Sheppey! Oh no, there's
Yeah.
a flag!
You've even got some Thomases.
Yeah, you'll notice a lot of this.
Someone's put
garbage.
City. That's City there. Someone's put City on there. Oh my god, it's hilarious. Hang on, zoom in on Queenborough. That's the bit which is like a pointy. If you imagine the island's a cat, then that's the cat's hand coming. Well, not hand, arm,
Down here.
leg coming. No, at the top.
Yeah, you got
There,
a
yeah,
Goku in
that's
there,
where
you got a
Queenborough is.
frog.
Yeah, see Queenborough, and you can see literally where I live. What is that flag? What the hell have they put? What is that flag with all the purple and white?
Oh,
Not
this
that
one.
one.
Here, the heart?
No, I know what
the
that
one
one
above?
is.
The Brazilians in Queensboro.
Oh,
apparently.
that is, I believe, related to the other one.
But anyhow,
It's
we have
among-
gotten
it's among
so
the mental
far,
disorder flags.
so far out of field here, folks. That
Look,
we're-
there's a smiley. And there's more
I like
weeb
that there's
shit.
so many of them.
I love that there's actually representation for where I live.
but
that
yeah,
is
you
so
can-
funny.
You can find yourself anywhere in here, and there's going to be art, even if you're in the middle of nowhere. Like it just put
Yeah,
me
there's
back into New
Goku.
York. They've got a Superman. They got a giant.
Hey, Queensboro's got a
Sopranos
wall on it.
Yeah, that's literally where I live. That in that circle, because that's
Go
Queenborough
Dogs.
Creek,
hmm
and I live off that. Not off
Oh,
it,
nice.
not off the land, but I mean that's where my house is.
Yeah.
I live off the creek. We go fishing in there for turds for dinner. No.
In a van.
Didn't mean it
Gonna
like
say,
that.
down
Turner's
by the
probably what
river.
the Thames does.
Yeah. Hi, Sheppy. Oh,
Well,
that's
anyway,
hilarious.
anyway, guys,
M.R.
we've,
Oh my god, I painted M.R.
we've gotten so far afield here. Let's go ahead and
Yeah.
probably best.
We
to
need
call
to
it a
wrap
night.
things up
We
fairly
do.
soon, don't we?
So,
Well, I
You
will
can
stop
find,
distracting us. For
you
this.
can find Rob's stuff. You can give him a follow on Instagram if you want to get the most up to date stuff. It's going to be what is that? Fantastic sausages. There'll be a link below, of course. And
I
of
just
course,
find without even trying, I'm controversial.
well, that
I'm
means
not
you're
even
doing something right.
trying. Like the whole thing with Linda Lusardi is kind of a camp joke, and it's just become this super controversial thing right at the start. Like,
The world is a very funny place. And
yeah,
Not funny, haha. It is what it is.
I think it's the artist's experience. Again, not wishing to sound grand, but
Well,
I think it's
is
just
a
it
great
comes
time
with the
for art.
territory.
It is a
It,
great,
co-
great time for art.
it comes with the territory no matter what you do. If you've got any kind of point of view, if you're making any sort of commentary on the times, then you're going to find friction, especially with the current climate. But I suppose that makes it more interesting.
Oh,
Well,
it keeps changing.
That is true. And we definitely live in interesting times.
Yeah.
But with that said, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining us today. And again,
I've taught so much bollocks, it's just untrue. So much bollocks. But
so,
yeah.
you can't take him to
Oh,
court,
that's what we're
Crown
here for.
peoples. Ignore. Everything is fine.
I don't think I've said
I'm
anything
pretty sure you haven't.
controversial.
Well, no, that's been me. You're
Well, we'll
good.
find out tomorrow at the Met.
No, I mean like
Oh, that's me. I gotta go.
Oh, yeah,
All
there
right.
you go.
Sorry about
oh
that.
dear.
Well, how's that for timing? So,
Yeah.
anyway.
So I think I'm all right. I've been like
No, you've been a good boy. You're good. You're good.
Everything
I'm
I've
the only one
said-
that's been bringing up trouble, and well, they're not going to get me over here. I dare them.
you're fine. I mean, everything I've said has just been like unvarnished truth, pretty much. Like I think the current issue, the hot button thing, is overstated, and it's being done so on purpose. So I don't really buy into it at all, personally. Yeah, and that's why I avoid the news, because I don't want to be influenced, and I want to think what I want to think, because obviously I'm very determined on that score. Being an artist, I'm just like very stubborn about my own opinions. Anyway,
that was just my brother butt dialing me.
the classic. Hello.
No, it was nice when I was able to get his attention and get him to pull the phone out. And then
Hello.
find out, yes, he is Hello.
Hello.
Pocket.
There we go.
Hello. Oh my lord!
So
I'm on the late shift now for the rest of the week, so I get to get up a little bit later than a normal time. So yeah, my brain is going, have another drink.
Well,
but,
you know, it's not too late over there. It's only what, a little after 11?
It's 20 past 11, and I've got to get up at 20 past 6. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then,
yeah.
As long as you get it in.
Have yourself a good glass of water.
Well, then, yeah, we need to wrap this up quick. You've only got like 12 more minutes.
It doesn't matter, does it?
But with that said, it has been a pleasure having you on. And again, you're welcome to come on again anytime, or if you got something cool going on, obviously. And that's it. That's Rob. You can find him at Fantastic Sausages on Instagram. I'm Evan at That Fake Guy Dan. You can find Craig at CraigBob99. I think you got a link tree or something too, but you can find that there too. Anyway, everybody, been a pleasure. Talk to you again soon. Hope everybody enjoys the kind of change in pace. It's nice to get an interview every now and then.
Yeah, it's good to do that after a day of just work, you know, because I don't get to talk about art enough. I say that slightly ironically. It's even at work, I'm like, oh, have you seen my... Well, not so much since the show, but leading up to the show, I was just like, oh, did you know I'm an artist? People are like, oh, yeah, really?
Well, now you can plug into this, and you've got definitive proof. And that's that.